Have you ever studied English for years but still feel stuck when speaking? Stay with me, because today's stories will change everything. In just a few minutes, you'll discover how real stories can make English easier, more natural, and more fun to learn every day. Welcome to the Talk to Me English. I'm Natasha, your host. If you want to improve your English listening and writing skills, this episode is for you. Today I will share real-life stories and experiences to help you understand English in everyday situations. Listening to real conversations helps you learn natural expressions, and writing about them improves your memory and vocabulary. If you're new here, we upload videos daily to help you learn English. So let's get started. Have you ever faced a difficult decision and had to choose between two options? What did you do? And how did you make the right choice? Let me tell you a story about my friend David. A few years ago, he had a stable job in his hometown. He worked as a manager in a small company, and life was comfortable. However, one day he received an unexpected offer, an opportunity to work for a bigger company in another city. The new job paid more, but it meant leaving his family, friends, and everything familiar. David spent days thinking about what to do, carefully making a list of pros and cons. Staying in his hometown meant security, but moving meant growth and a better future. He talked to his wife Anna, and they discussed everything carefully before making a choice together. She supported him no matter what, but reminded him to think about what truly mattered. One evening, David met his old school teacher, Mr. Clark, who gave him valuable advice. He said sometimes the hardest choices lead to the best experiences, so don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. These words stayed with David for days. After thinking long and hard, he decided to take the job. At first, life in the new city was challenging because the work was more demanding, and he missed his family. But over time, he adapted, met new people, improved his skills, and after a few years, he got an even better position. Looking back, he realized it was his best decision. Let me share another personal story. A few years ago, I had to move to a new city for work. I had been living in the same place for a long time. I was surrounded by friends and family, but the job I wanted was in a different city, so I had to decide whether to stay or move. At first, I was excited about the opportunity. It was a great job, and the company was offering me a chance to grow. But then I felt nervous. I had never lived far from my family before, and I wasn't sure how I would adjust to life in a new place. The thought of starting over was both exciting and scary. I decided to take the leap. The first few months were difficult because I missed my friends, and everything felt unfamiliar. Even simple things like grocery shopping felt strange. I remember one day I was at the store and I couldn't even find the bread section, which made me feel completely lost. But slowly things started improving. I made new friends, discovered favorite cafes, and became comfortable in my new job. Looking back, I'm really glad I made that choice because it taught me about my strength. It wasn't easy, but it showed me how strong I can be in challenging situations. Now I'm more confident about making big decisions because I've learned that risk is growth. What about you? Have you ever moved to a new city or started something completely new? How did you feel in the beginning? And was it worth it in the end? If you're still not sure about making a big decision, that's okay, because it's normal to feel unsure sometimes. But remember, the biggest opportunities often come from taking chances. That reminds me of another story, one that really changed the way I think about challenges and new experiences. This is about my cousin Michael, who loved cooking since childhood. Ever since he was a child, he loved watching his mother prepare meals in the kitchen. He would stand beside her, asking questions about ingredients, spices, and different techniques. By the time he was a teenager, he could cook better than most adults. Everyone in the family admired his talent, But for Michael, cooking was more than just a hobby. It was a dream. And as he grew older, he dreamed of becoming a professional chef. However, there was one big problem. Because his father wanted a different career path for him. His father, Mr. Johnson, was a businessman. He believed that a real career meant working in an office, wearing a suit, and having a stable salary with financial security. Every time Michael mentioned becoming a chef, his father would shake his head and say cooking is fine for home, but it's not a serious career for life. You should study business and take over the family company. Michael felt torn between his passion and his father's expectations. He respected his father, but couldn't imagine a life without cooking. His mother, on the other hand, supported his dreams. She told him, "You only have one life." Michael, if cooking makes you happy, you should go for it. One day, an opportunity came that changed everything. A famous culinary school in another city was holding a cooking competition, with the winner receiving a full scholarship to study there. It was a golden opportunity, but there was a catch. Michael had never competed in a professional setting before. He doubted himself, wondering what if he wasn't good enough? What if he disappointed his father? Despite his fears, Michael decided to enter the competition. He spent weeks practicing, perfecting his dishes, and learning new techniques. He woke up early and stayed up late. He was determined to give his best effort. When the competition day arrived, he was extremely nervous. As he stepped into the kitchen, he saw experienced competitors. Some had years of practice, and his hands trembled as he began preparing his dish. The judges watched closely as he worked, tasting every dish carefully and discussing presentation. After what felt like hours, the results were announced. Michael held his breath when they called his name as the winner. He couldn't believe it. He had won! That evening, he called his father to share the news. There was silence on the phone. Then, to his surprise, his father admitted something he never expected. He said, "I may not have understood your passion before, but I see now you are truly talented. If this is what you want, I support you." Michael packed his bags and moved to the new city to start culinary school. It wasn't easy. He had to work hard, adapt, and face many challenges. But in the end, it was worth it. Today, Michael is a professional chef, running his own restaurant. Guess who visits often? His father, now his biggest supporter. This story teaches an important lesson. Sometimes we must believe in ourselves even when others don't. Taking risks is scary, but ignoring passions may lead to lifelong regret. So let me ask you, have you ever wanted to do something but felt afraid to take the first step? Maybe you wanted to learn a new skill, start a new job, or move to a different place. What is stopping you? Is it fear, uncertainty, or the opinions of others holding you back? I want to share another story now. One that's a bit different but equally powerful. It's about my friend Peter, whom I met in college. Peter and I met during a language exchange program when we were both students. At the time, Peter was studying law. While I was studying business management, Peter was very quiet. He didn't speak much in class or during breaks. When we started talking, I noticed his English wasn't as strong as others. Despite his quiet nature, Peter had big dreams. He wanted to work for a large international law firm, but his English was holding him back badly. His law courses were in English, and he found it difficult to understand legal terms and complex texts. Even though he was brilliant at law, the language barrier limited him. One day during a conversation, Peter told me about his dream. "I want to work in a top law firm." "Natasha," he said, "but my English feels weak. I don't know if I can do it." I could see the uncertainty in his eyes and knew how much he wanted to succeed, despite his doubts. It reminded me of when I had doubts about moving to a new city. I said to him, "Peter, you've already taken the hardest step. You're in this program, improving every day, And most importantly, you believe in your dream. That belief will carry you through, even when you feel afraid. Peter smiled, but still looked unsure. He said, I don't feel confident when speaking in front of people or explaining complicated things in English. What if I make mistakes? His words made me think. I knew that fear well, the fear of making mistakes in a language still being learned. But I also knew mistakes help us grow, I told him. Peter, every mistake you make is one step closer to your goal. Don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on improving a little every day. So Peter took my advice to heart. Every morning he spent extra time reviewing legal terms and practicing English. He even started watching English TV shows about law. He picked up vocabulary and phrases useful in his studies. Slowly, he began to feel more confident. 1 year later, Peter was ready to apply for jobs. He had built confidence, and his English improved significantly. He got an internship at a well-known international firm, and months later he was offered a full-time position. I was proud when he told me the news, but more than that, I was proud of how far he had come. He never gave up. Peter faced his fears, worked hard, and achieved his dream. Today he is working in the firm he always wanted. His success proved persistence matters more than fear. When Peter shared his story, he said, I never thought I could make it. I thought my English would always be a problem. But I learned something. If you keep pushing yourself, you can achieve anything. This story shows us that even when dreams seem too big, persistence and hard work make all the difference. Peter didn't let fear stop him. Instead, he faced it directly, and now he is living his dream. Now, I want to ask you something. What is one goal you've set for yourself that feels out of reach right now? Is it learning English, starting a new job, or traveling abroad? What's stopping you from chasing it? Often, the biggest obstacle is fear. We fear making mistakes, not being good enough, or worrying about others' opinions. But remember, we all start somewhere. No one gets things perfect at the beginning. The important thing is to keep going, one step at a time. So think about this. What small action can you take today that will bring you closer to your goal? Maybe it's learning one new word, speaking to someone in English, or even just writing down your dreams. Whatever it is, start today, and with each step you move closer to success. When we step outside our comfort zones, we learn, grow, and discover strengths we never knew. Peter didn't let fear define him, and neither should you. Whatever your dream is, you already have what it takes to achieve it. It all starts with believing in yourself and taking the first step. Have you ever faced a challenge that seemed impossible to overcome? How did you deal with it? What did you learn? And was it worth it? Let me tell you another story, one that involves a very close friend of mine, Sophia. We've known each other for years and shared many experiences. But there's one story that really stands out, because it taught me a valuable lesson about persistence and believing in yourself when no one else does. Sophia had always dreamed of becoming a photographer. Since she was a little girl, she would take photos of everything: family, nature, friends, and even her pets. Her passion for photography was obvious to anyone who met her. However, there was a problem. Her parents were very traditional and valued only secure jobs. They believed stable careers were being a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. When Sophia told them she wanted photography, they told her it wasn't a real career. They insisted she should focus on her studies and choose something more practical. At first, Sophia tried to convince them, showing famous photographers' work as proof. She explained how photography could be a career, but nothing seemed to change their minds. They still didn't understand why she wanted to follow that passion. For a while, Sophia started to doubt herself. She questioned whether her dream of becoming a photographer was worth fighting for. or if it was foolish. She thought about following a conventional career path just to make her parents happy. But deep down, she knew she couldn't ignore her true passion. One day, while we were sitting at a cafe, Sophia opened up to me. She said, "Natasha, I really want to be a photographer, but I feel lost. I know my parents won't support me, and I don't know if I'm good enough. What if I fail? What if I waste my time?" I could see sadness in her eyes, but also determination. I told her, "Sophia, you can't live your life based on others' opinions. Follow what makes you happy. Remember, every successful photographer faced challenges. It's part of the journey. If you believe in yourself and keep working hard, you will get there eventually." Sophia smiled, though she was still unsure. However, she decided to take a chance. She enrolled in a photography course and began building her portfolio of work. At first, things didn't go smoothly. She struggled with techniques and felt her photos weren't good enough. But instead of giving up, she kept practicing daily. She took photos in different lighting conditions, experimented with various subjects, and spent hours editing. It wasn't easy, and many moments brought frustration, but she kept pushing. She started sharing her work online, and slowly people began noticing. She received positive feedback, and soon she was invited to showcase her photography at a local gallery. The day of the exhibition was one of Sophia's happiest moments. She had worked so hard, and seeing her work displayed was truly a dream come true. Her parents, who had been skeptical, attended the exhibition. When they saw how many people admired her photos, they finally understood what she had been telling them. That moment was a turning point for Sophia. She realized success didn't come overnight, but with persistence and belief, she could achieve anything she set her heart on. Today, Sophia is a professional photographer with clients all over the world. She even started her own photography business, and her parents are now her biggest supporters. When I think back to that uncertain time, I feel proud of how far she's come. She didn't let others' opinions stop her. She kept following her passion. What about you? Is there something you've always wanted to do but felt too afraid to try? Maybe it's learning a new language or starting a new career. Sometimes the fear of failure or the weight of others' opinions holds us back. But what if instead of letting fear stop us, we embraced it as part of the journey? How many times have you faced a challenge and thought you couldn't do it? How many times did you doubt yourself, only to surprise yourself later? When you pushed through, you realized you were stronger and more capable than you ever imagined. Sophia's story is a reminder that we all have this ability. The road may not be easy. There will be obstacles, doubts, and difficulties. But if you're willing to work hard and keep going, you can achieve incredible things. Sometimes the hardest part is simply taking the first step. Once you do, everything else slowly falls into place. The key is to never give up. Whether it's learning English, pursuing a career, or following a passion, persistence will carry you forward. Keep pushing even when it's tough, because you might surprise yourself. So let me ask you, what is something you've been holding back on because of fear or doubt? What could you start doing today to move closer? It might be as small as signing up for a class or writing a plan. Whatever it is, take that step today and keep believing in yourself. I'm glad you're enjoying these stories, and I want to keep going. There's one more story I want to share. It's about a man named Robert. His story is a perfect example of how unexpected opportunities can appear when least expected, and how they can change our lives completely. Robert and I met at a cafe about 5 years ago. He was a regular customer at the coffee shop where I often went. We would exchange small talk whenever we saw each other there. Robert was an average guy, working in a corporate job as a data analyst. He didn't have many goals or passions outside of work. He often seemed stressed, looking like just another person caught in the routine of life. One day, I overheard a conversation at the cafe. Robert was telling a friend how much he hated his job and how stuck he felt. He said there was no room for growth, the same numbers and reports every day, and he felt like he was slowly losing himself. Robert was frustrated because he felt he had no control over his future. I was curious, so I approached him after and asked if he was okay. Robert looked surprised, but opened up about what he truly wanted. To my surprise, he revealed something he had secretly loved for years: photography. He loved taking pictures in his free time, especially of nature and city landscapes. His friends praised his photos, but he never thought of going further. He never believed it could become more than a hobby. At first, he seemed embarrassed to talk about it. He said, "Natasha, it's just something fun I do. I don't think I could ever make it a career. I'm already in a stable job, and changing careers feels too risky." His hesitation was clear. I knew that conflict well. Wanting to follow a passion, but feeling like there was too much to lose. I told him it's never too late. You don't have to change everything at once. Start small and see where it takes you. If photography excites you, explore it and take small steps. Sometimes the smallest step can lead to the biggest change. Robert didn't seem convinced, but promised he would think about it and see what happened. Weeks passed, and I didn't hear much from him. He still came to the cafe, still worked his job, and still looked very tired. Then one day I noticed something different. When Robert sat down at the cafe, he had a camera with him. I was curious and asked about it. Robert smiled and said, "Actually, I've been taking a photography class. I decided to try it. It's not big yet, but it's something I've always wanted." I could see excitement in his eyes. For the first time in months, he seemed happy about something. That camera had already changed his mood. Robert started carrying the camera everywhere, taking photos during lunch breaks and weekends. He practiced editing, experimenting with techniques, and even began a small photography blog. At first, it was just a side project, something fun in his free time. But slowly, he grew more serious, and opportunities started to appear unexpectedly. Friends, family, and even local businesses asked him for photo shoots. He couldn't believe how quickly things were moving. Then, a local magazine contacted him one day. They wanted to feature one of his photos in an article about urban landscapes. That was a turning point. His hobby was now gaining wider recognition. Months later, Robert made a life-changing decision. He quit his corporate job and became a full-time photographer. I still remember the moment he told me the news. He said, "Natasha, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. I never imagined my hobby could become my career. It's scary, but I finally feel alive." Robert's story is a perfect example of how we hold ourselves back from following dreams. At first, he feared change, but a small step opened new doors. Today, Robert is a successful photographer. His work appears in magazines, galleries, and exhibitions worldwide. What began as a weekend hobby is now his life's passion. From his story, I learned that sometimes we think only about what's safe and practical. We forget about the things that truly excite and inspire us. We overthink, we worry about the future, and we forget that the hardest part is always the first step. Robert taught me that lesson deeply. It's easy to think we're too old, too busy, or it's too risky. But sometimes a single small decision can completely change our lives forever. So let me ask you, what is something you've always wanted to try but never started? A new hobby, a career path, or something that excites you? What's stopping you from taking that first step? When we allow ourselves to dream and follow passion, life can transform in ways we never imagined. It doesn't matter how big or small the dream is. What matters is that you act, even small. Consistent steps can lead you to amazing places. Robert's journey proves that if you follow what you love, even a small step can become something bigger. If he hadn't picked up the camera, nothing changed. So think about it. What small action could you start today to bring you closer to your dream? Even 1 hour a week can move you forward. Don't let fear hold you back. You have the power to create your own path. With each step, you move closer to the life you want. Now I want to share another story with you. This one is about Maria, a woman who discovered the power of patience, learning, and persistence. Her story is an important reminder that even when life doesn't go as planned, we can always find a way to move forward and grow. Maria grew up in a small town with big dreams. From a young age, she loved books and wanted to be a teacher, imagining herself inspiring students. But life had other plans. When she finished high school, her family couldn't afford college. Instead of studying, Maria started working to support her younger siblings. At first, she took a job at a grocery store. It wasn't her plan, but she told herself it was temporary. She would save money and return. However, as time passed, life became busier. Her siblings needed help with school fees. Her parents grew older, and suddenly, years had gone by without change. Maria found herself trapped in a cycle of long hours, paying bills, and wondering if her dream of becoming a teacher was slipping further away. One day, a customer came into the store, struggling to count change. Maria patiently helped him. He thanked her, saying she had the patience of a great teacher. Maria laughed and said that was once her dream, but life had other plans. The man replied, "Life never takes a straight path, but never stop walking." Those words stayed with Maria. That night, she thought deeply and realized maybe she couldn't afford full-time college. But perhaps another path existed. The next day, she researched online courses. She found a program that allowed her to study at her own pace, and she immediately signed up. At first, it was difficult. After working all day, she came home, cooked dinner, and studied late at night. Often, she felt exhausted, sometimes ready to quit. But every time she wanted to give up, she remembered the old man's words. Life never takes a straight path, but you must keep walking. Slowly, Maria made progress. She passed her first course, then another, then another. After 2 years of evenings and weekends, she earned her teaching certificate. The day she received her certificate in the mail, she cried. Years of hard work had paid off, and she was ready to pursue her dream. She immediately applied for local teaching jobs. The first few schools rejected her. Competition was tough, but she refused to give up or let doubt win. She kept applying, learning, and believing in herself. Finally, she got an interview at a small primary school. Though she was nervous as she walked in, the principal looked at her resume and asked, "You worked in a grocery store for years. What made you want to become a teacher now?" Maria took a deep breath and answered, "I've wanted to be a teacher my whole life. It just took me a little longer to get here." The principal smiled and hired her. Not just any job, but a class of struggling students. They believed Maria's life experience made her the perfect teacher. Her first day in the classroom was unforgettable. She looked at her students' faces and realized she had finally arrived. She had taken the long road, but she was exactly where she was meant to be. Maria's story reminds us that even when life doesn't follow our plan, we should never give up. Sometimes we must take a different path, work harder, wait longer, or push through obstacles. But if we keep moving forward, dreams can still come true. Think about this. What dream have you put on hold? Maybe you think it's too late, too difficult, or you don't have enough time. Maria's story shows that small steps, taken consistently, can create something incredible. Even when results are slow, every effort adds up over time. Ask yourself, what have you always wanted to do but never started? What small step can you take today to move closer to that goal? Even if results don't appear instantly, every effort matters. every minute learning, every practice session, every push against doubt builds progress toward your dream. Maria didn't become a teacher overnight. It took years of sacrifice and dedication, but she kept going. In the end, she achieved what she had always wanted. Now let's dive even deeper into the idea of persistence and learning. I want to share another real story with you, this time about my cousin David. His journey is a powerful example of how determination and smart strategies can help you master a skill, even when you start completely from zero. David was born and raised in a small town where English wasn't commonly spoken. Growing up, he admired people who could speak multiple languages, especially English. He dreamed of traveling, working in an international company, and communicating with people from different countries. But there was one big problem. He was terrible at languages. In school, English was his worst subject, no matter how hard he tried. He couldn't remember vocabulary. Grammar felt like an impossible puzzle he could never solve. He felt embarrassed reading out loud in class. His classmates laughed at mispronunciations, and his teacher often grew frustrated. Eventually, David believed he just wasn't good at languages. After finishing school, he didn't think about English for years. He worked as a mechanic fixing cars in his town, though content. Deep down, he still dreamed. He wanted to watch movies without subtitles, travel confidently, and have conversations with foreigners. But every time he thought of trying, he remembered failure in school. Then something unexpected happened. One day, a tourist's car broke down near his shop. The man was from Canada and didn't speak David's native language. The tourist tried explaining with hand gestures and broken English. David felt nervous. He wanted to help but understood little, struggling to respond with correct words. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about the encounter. He realized his English wasn't bad because of talent, but because he had never learned the right way. He had only memorized words from textbooks, never practiced speaking or listening in real life. That moment, he decided to start learning English again differently. This time, he wouldn't focus only on grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary lists. He would focus on real-life English, the way people actually spoke every day. He began with listening. Each morning while working in the shop, he played English podcasts in the background. At first, he barely understood anything at all. The words felt too fast, and he missed much information. But he kept listening every day, picking up a few new words and slowly training his ear. He didn't stress about understanding everything. He just let his ears adjust to English sounds. Then he moved on to speaking. Starting small with simple sentences, he practiced introducing himself. "Hi, my name is David. I am a mechanic. I fix cars." He repeated this until it felt natural and confident. Then he added more. "I live in a small town. I have been working as a mechanic for 5 years." Each day, he built new sentences. He even talked to himself while fixing cars. Pretending to explain his work to an English-speaking customer, he didn't fear mistakes, only focused on comfort. After a few months, something incredible happened. Another tourist came. This time, an American couple. They needed help, and David managed a simple conversation with them. He understood their problem, explained repairs, and even made small talk. The couple praised him, saying, "Your English is really good." David couldn't believe this progress. Just 6 months earlier, he had been too afraid to speak one sentence. Now he was conversing with real people, but he didn't stop there. He wanted more improvement. He found a language exchange partner online, someone learning his native language and willing to practice English with him twice weekly. At first, their video calls were awkward. David made many mistakes, sometimes stuck in sentences, but he kept trying, learning, and slowly improving confidence each week. Within 1 year, David's life had transformed. He could understand movies without subtitles, listen to English songs, and catch most lyrics. Conversations became natural and fluent. He even started helping his younger cousin learn English. His story proves no one is bad at languages. The problem isn't ability, but using the wrong method. If you only memorize vocabulary lists and study grammar without practicing communication, you will struggle. But real-life listening and speaking bring faster, lasting improvement. So let me ask you, how are you learning English right now? Are you focusing only on textbooks instead of conversations? Do you listen to English daily, even if you don't understand everything? Listening trains your ears. Speak out loud, even alone. Don't fear mistakes. Mistakes are not failures. They are signs of progress. If David could go from failing in school to speaking confidently in 1 year, you can too. The key is consistency. Practice daily, even just a little. Small practice adds up. Keep going, and soon you'll see results. Step outside comfort zones. Push yourself, and progress will come, even if it feels uncomfortable. I want to share another personal story, this time about learning a new skill. I think you'll relate to it as you work on English. This is the story of how I learned to play guitar. At first, I was completely clueless. I didn't know which string or how to hold the pick. I just knew I wanted to learn because I loved the idea of playing music. But the first time I picked it up, nothing sounded right. My fingers felt stiff. Every strum was either too sharp or too flat, and I felt like I was failing miserably. The frustration was overwhelming. There were moments I thought about quitting. I told myself, "This is too hard. I'll never get it." But then I remembered something very important. Learning something new always takes time. It's not about being perfect immediately. It's about improving step by step, celebrating progress no matter how small it seems. I realized that if I wanted to improve, I couldn't give up. So I made a commitment to practice daily, even for just 10 minutes. In the beginning, those minutes felt endless. My fingers hurt, and the songs I wanted to play sounded terrible, but I forced myself to keep going. I didn't focus on mistakes. Instead, I celebrated small wins, making a chord sound clear or playing a simple melody without any mistakes at all. As time went on, my hands moved more naturally, the pain faded, my confidence grew, and I could play simple songs without much effort. Then, one day, sitting with friends, someone handed me a guitar. For the first time, I felt ready to play something confidently in front of others. I played a song I'd been practicing for weeks, and to my surprise, everyone enjoyed it. They said I sounded great, and I felt proud of myself. That experience taught me something important. Improvement doesn't happen overnight, but persistence leads to achievements you never thought possible. The same principle applies to learning English. At first, it feels hard. You make mistakes and sometimes feel like progress isn't happening. But just like guitar, consistency brings results over time. If you can speak one sentence clearly, that's progress. If you understand one new phrase, that's growth. Small victories matter and build your confidence step by step. Another great example comes from my friend Sarah, who learned to speak English fluently within a few years. At the start, she could barely form a sentence. She was embarrassed and frustrated, but instead of only focusing on grammar or vocabulary, she began using English in real-life situations through conversation and practice. Sarah joined an international community of learners. Every day, she engaged in conversations with people from around the world. Sometimes the talks were awkward and full of mistakes, but rather than giving up, she treated mistakes as learning opportunities. One time, she told a native speaker, "I enjoy book read." Instead of, "I enjoy reading books," she felt her face turn red with embarrassment. But instead of being discouraged, she laughed. The conversation continued, and her mistake didn't matter to the other person. Later, Sarah realized no one was judging her. The important thing was that she had communicated. That small moment made her more confident to continue practicing daily. Over time, her English improved greatly. Soon, she was speaking fluently and having full conversations with native speakers. Her confidence grew with each interaction she attempted. I made mistakes, too. Sometimes I used the wrong word, but no one cared. People appreciated my effort, and it motivated me to keep speaking. This reminded me that language learning is a journey. Every step counts, and mistakes are simply part of that process. No one is perfect at the beginning. The important thing is to keep improving, just like I did with guitar, Sarah did with English, and you can also do in your learning journey. Now let's take a quick look at how you can make this journey easier. It's all about setting small, achievable goals instead of overwhelming yourself. Don't focus on becoming fluent overnight. Set realistic goals, like having a short conversation in English, listening to a podcast daily, or writing a few sentences each evening. When you set small goals, you feel achievement with each one, which keeps you motivated. Progress doesn't happen instantly, but each step builds long-term improvement. If you make English part of your routine, you'll soon notice results that surprise you. Remember, every step forward brings you closer to your language goals. Let's think about practical ways to use English daily. Speaking with yourself is a surprisingly effective method. It may feel strange, but it works powerfully. Try talking to yourself in English about your day, what you're doing, or what you plan to do. Even a few sentences make a difference. How? The more you practice speaking, the easier it becomes when talking to others. You'll start feeling natural, and hesitation will slowly disappear with practice. Another way is to find a conversation partner. If you don't have anyone nearby, look online for language exchange partners who want to practice. You can connect with people learning your language while you practice English. It's a supportive environment and helps you feel less pressure when speaking. Joining a language learning group is also helpful. Many cities have groups that meet regularly. If not, you can find welcoming online communities for learners. These groups are supportive and create great opportunities to practice speaking in a low-pressure environment, helping you gain confidence and improve fluency naturally. Language apps are another tool. Apps like HelloTalk or Tandem connect you with native speakers and other learners, offering a fun way to practice real conversations. Watching TV shows or movies in English is useful too. Pay attention to how people speak, repeat sentences aloud, and imitate their rhythm and pronunciation carefully. You can begin with subtitles in your native language, then switch to English subtitles as you improve. This strengthens both listening and reading simultaneously. Another tip is writing in English. Even simple things like shopping lists, work notes, or journal entries improve your writing and expand your vocabulary naturally. Let's consider another example of real-life practice. I once worked with an international team. At first, business English felt unfamiliar, and I worried about mistakes. During meetings, I felt awkward, fearing I wouldn't understand or respond correctly, but over time, I asked questions, clarified confusion, and slowly adapted to the context. The team was supportive, and my confidence improved. I learned that every context has unique vocabulary. For business English, I had to learn specific terms and expressions. Similarly, you may need cooking vocabulary for restaurants or travel words for trips. English changes depending on the context. And exposure builds confidence to who want to adjust. Another important element of learning is feedback. Sometimes we don't notice mistakes until someone points them out. At first, I feared corrections, but they helped me improve. When I began speaking English more, I was embarrassed about feedback. Yet, the more feedback I received, the faster I improved pronunciation, grammar, and natural speaking style. Don't be afraid of feedback. It's an essential part of learning. Every correction is an opportunity to grow, and it makes you aware of improvement areas. Now let's talk about confidence. Many learners struggle with speaking because they lack confidence. Even if they know vocabulary and grammar, fear blocks them from using English. I remember my first work presentation in English. I had prepared carefully, memorized points, and practiced slides. But when I faced the audience, my mind went blank. My palms were sweaty, my heart raced, and it was a real test of courage. At that moment, I remembered something. Confidence grows through action, not theory. It doesn't come just from studying, but from using the language repeatedly. So I took a deep breath, focused on my message, and began speaking anyway. I didn't let mistakes stop me. Surprisingly, the audience responded positively. They cared more about the ideas than about errors. That experience built my confidence significantly. I learned a valuable lesson. Confidence comes from doing, not just knowing. The more you practice, the more confident and natural you will eventually become. So apply this to your learning. Don't fear mistakes in front of others. See each conversation as practice, an opportunity to improve, and a step toward fluency. I also overcame my fear of phone calls in English. I used to avoid them, anxious about mistakes, but avoiding them didn't help me improve. One day, I decided to make a small call. It was just customer service, but my heart raced as I dialed. I introduced myself in English nervously. The person responded kindly. I stumbled on a phrase, but the call went smoothly. That moment showed me calls weren't as scary as I thought. Afterward, I began making more calls, both small and important ones. Each time, I felt more comfortable. My confidence grew, and my English improved significantly. This is why real practice is essential. Using English in real situations teaches you to manage pressure. It's not about perfection, but about communication. At first, I took feedback personally, feeling embarrassed. But over time, I realized feedback is a gift. It helped me improve and showed me areas for growth. So don't avoid feedback. Embrace it as an important tool in your learning journey. It may feel uncomfortable, but it accelerates progress faster than studying alone. Another way to improve listening is slowing down recordings. Many videos or podcasts allow playback speed adjustment. I slowed podcasts to 0.75x, which helped me understand. Once, I became comfortable at slower speed. I gradually returned to normal pace. This trained my ear to recognize words and phrases at natural speed. Listening to different accents is also essential. English varies worldwide. American, British, Australian, Indian, each has unique sounds. Exposure helps you adapt and understand them better over time. At first, I struggled with the Australian accent. Words sounded unfamiliar, but after regularly listening to Australian shows and podcasts, I slowly began to understand more. Eventually, I could follow naturally. Don't limit yourself to one accent. Expose your ears to as many as possible for flexibility and comprehension in real conversations. Now let's talk about using English daily. If you only watch shows or read, improvement is slower. Real-life use is the most effective practice for progress. Even at home, I practiced English with my wife. At first it was awkward, but over time we grew comfortable. Soon, conversations felt natural and effortless. This practice improved my listening and speaking in real time. Daily use made English feel alive, and my brain started processing it more automatically each day. If you don't have native speakers nearby, join online groups, forums, or communities. Platforms like Reddit or Facebook have English groups to discuss shared interests. I once joined a cooking forum in English. We discussed recipes, and I learned food-related vocabulary naturally. It was fun, engaging, and effective practice. Remember to take breaks while listening. Continuous listening for too long is tiring. I found 15 to 20 minutes, followed by reflection, helped me focus and retain information. During breaks, I summarized what I had heard in my own words. This reinforced my memory and showed me what I understood from the material. Repetition is also powerful. When listening to podcasts or shows, I replay difficult sections. Hearing them again in context often makes meanings much clearer. It's like revisiting a familiar place, the second or third time. Everything feels easier and more recognizable. Repetition builds confidence and deepens understanding. You can also use subtitles to improve listening and reading. At first, I watched English movies with subtitles in my native language, but eventually switched to English subtitles. This helped me connect spoken and written forms. It improved vocabulary, comprehension, and memory, making English learning more engaging and effective at the same time. One of the best ways to track progress is through listening exercises. Many podcasts and YouTube channels offer comprehension questions to test understanding after listening. These exercises train active listening instead of passively hearing words. You focus on meaning. Answering questions checks comprehension and strengthens memory for new vocabulary. I also recommend journaling about listening practice. After each session, write new words or phrases you noticed. Try using them in sentences to reinforce learning. Writing them down helps retention and expands vocabulary. I've done this regularly, and it made me more aware of progress and motivated me to continue. Another important part of listening is vocabulary. The more words you know, the easier comprehension becomes. Learn vocabulary in context, not just isolated word lists. For example, when hearing a new word in a podcast, try guessing the meaning from context. If unsure, look it up and review later. Next time you encounter it, recognition will be stronger. This contextual method helps you understand usage naturally and prepares you for real conversations. Immersion also improves listening. You don't need to move abroad. Instead, bring English into your daily life. Change phone settings, browse social media, read news in English. Even simple tasks like ordering food online in English or checking messages help your brain adjust. Constant exposure strengthens listening skills and builds comfort with language. Watching movies and TV shows is another excellent method. Use English subtitles first. Connect spoken and written words, which improves both listening and reading skills simultaneously. Over time, you'll notice common expressions and patterns. You'll begin to recognize phrases like, "What's up?" or "I'll let you know," and use them naturally. Hearing expressions in context makes them easier to apply in real conversations. They're not always in textbooks, but they're essential for sounding natural in English. The more you listen, the easier speech becomes. Learning flows naturally when you engage with content you enjoy, whether it's comedy, news, or documentaries. Another powerful step in building an English environment is finding content relevant to your interests. If you love cooking, follow English recipes, blogs, or YouTube channels. If you enjoy sports, listen to podcasts or commentary about your favorite teams. When learning connects to your passion, it feels natural and not like study. This keeps you motivated. For me, I listen to English news for current events and podcasts about personal development. Both improved my vocabulary and engagement. I also practice speaking in real-world contexts. Joining online practice groups helped me talk with learners worldwide. We shared stories, practiced, and supported each other regularly. Shadowing was another tool I used. By repeating after native speakers in news broadcasts or podcasts, I improved fluency, intonation, and rhythm naturally over time. At first, keeping pace was difficult, but repetition helped me speak faster and more clearly. Shadowing trained both listening and speaking at the same time. I also practiced describing my daily life in English before bed. For example, I woke up at 7 a.m., had breakfast, and went to work. Later, I might add, in the afternoon, I had a meeting with my boss, then went to the gym. Speaking became second nature this way. Over time, these simple habits built confidence. I could talk about my day easily in English, making real conversations smoother, more natural, and less intimidating. Listening comprehension is another challenge for learners. At first, I couldn't understand fast conversations, slang, or different accents, but daily practice gradually trained my ear to adapt. I listened to British, American, Australian, and Irish podcasts. At first, it was confusing, but soon I recognized patterns, sounds, and learned to adjust effectively. Each accent became easier to follow. This variety boosted my confidence and prepared me for real conversations. No matter the speaker's background or region, reading in English also strengthened my skills. I started with short texts like blogs or posts. I underlined unknown words and looked them up later. Over time, I noticed I needed the dictionary less. My reading speed improved, and I could understand more based on context, not just individual words. This contextual guessing skill is powerful. For example, the word bank might mean a financial place or the side of a river. Context reveals the correct meaning. Learning through context avoids frustration and builds flexible understanding. It helps in real conversations when exact definitions aren't clear, but meaning can still be understood. Writing also supports improvement. I kept a daily journal in English. At first, I struggled, but gradually vocabulary expanded, grammar improved, and writing became natural. I learned not to focus too much on mistakes. The key was getting ideas on paper. Corrections and improvements came later. As my writing became clearer, I also used online correction platforms. Native speakers reviewed my writing, pointed out mistakes, and explained better phrasing. This feedback helped me write more naturally. Another way I practiced was participating in forums and groups, writing posts, asking questions, or commenting on others improved my informal English and expanded vocabulary. Practical conversations are also key. It's one thing to study English, but another to hold natural conversations. Real-life interaction is where true fluency begins to grow. I improved my conversation skills by joining language exchange programs. Speaking with native speakers taught me not only language but also culture and new perspectives. During exchanges, I practiced clarity even when unsure about vocabulary. For example, I once described a beach trip simply relaxing, listening to waves, enjoying the moment, though I lacked exact words. My partner understood perfectly. This taught me communication isn't about perfect grammar, but expressing ideas clearly, even with limited vocabulary. Confidence also grows through intonation and stress. English meaning often depends on tone. For example, I can't believe it sounds different with excitement or with disappointment. Shadowing practice helped me mimic stress and rhythm. By copying native speakers, my speech became more natural, expressive, and engaging. Rather than flat or hesitant, connected speech is another challenge. For instance, I want to go to the store becomes I want to go to the store in natural conversation. Listening reveals this flow. Practicing with podcasts, I repeated full phrases without pausing. After each word, this trained my brain to hear and speak in smoother, natural rhythm. Active listening is equally important instead of passively hearing. I repeated what I heard aloud. For example, if someone said, "That's a great idea," I echoed it. Repeating phrases helped reinforce vocabulary, improve pronunciation, and prepare me to use them in my own real conversations without hesitation or self-doubt. Role-playing is another powerful method. I pretended to order food in a restaurant. "I'd like a coffee, please," or "Can I have the bill?" repeatedly. Practicing scenarios prepared me for real-life situations over time. Ordering or asking for help in English felt natural because I had rehearsed the conversations before. This method works alone or with a partner. Imagining dialogues forces your brain to adapt quickly, making real conversations smoother and less intimidating. Listening to different media genres also strengthened my skills. Science podcasts taught technical terms, while storytelling podcasts trained me in casual, emotional expressions. Both were useful. Each genre improved a different side of English. Science sharpened clarity and structure, while storytelling built fluency, creativity, and emotional vocabulary for natural conversations. Interviews with experts were also valuable. Listening to authors, entrepreneurs, or artists helped me follow structured speech and learn how complex ideas are explained clearly. One entrepreneur described building a business step by step. The structure made it easier to follow and also taught me new words for professional discussions. When practicing, I reminded myself mistakes were not failures. Misunderstanding or missing words became learning opportunities, helping me adapt and improve resilience over time. This mindset shift reduced pressure. Instead of fearing errors, I saw them as signs of progress. The more mistakes corrected, the faster my improvement became. By staying patient and persistent, you'll improve faster than expected. Real-life conversations sharpen listening and speaking together, forcing adaptation to context and natural flow. The first step is active listening. Focus not only on words, but tone, pauses, and emphasis. Intonation often changes meaning, even with the same sentence. For example, "You're going to do that?" with a rising tone shows surprise, but said flatly, it expresses certainty or even judgment without extra words. When I started practicing, I focused only on vocabulary. I missed emotions in speech. Later, tone helped me understand struggles and lessons behind shared experiences. Active listening also helps you respond naturally. You engage with feeling, not just words, which builds connection and makes your communication more authentic and effective. News reports and podcasts became excellent practice. I started with familiar topics. Knowing background helped me focus less on vocabulary and more on English structure. Listening to news on familiar events showed how information was organized, with concise language, formal tone, and useful patterns for my own English communication. Gradually, I moved to more complex reports. My listening comprehension expanded, and I could follow advanced discussions more confidently without pausing or checking constantly. Visual aids also helped. Watching videos with captions allowed me to connect speech and text. Captions guided me like a map, making comprehension easier at first. When I watched TED Talks with captions, I followed speakers more easily. Over time, I relied less on text and improved listening while still enjoying the talks. Combining visual and audio inputs trained both listening and reading skills. I discovered new vocabulary and context, and remembered words more effectively through repetition. Accents again played a role. Each region speaks differently. At first, I struggled with unfamiliar ones, but constant listening helped me adapt and understand faster. For example, Australian English once sounded impossible, but after repeated exposure, patterns became familiar. Now I can follow easily, even with strong regional differences. Role-playing also built confidence. I practiced scenarios like ordering food or asking directions. Rehearsing in advance prepared me for real-life conversations without hesitation. Sometimes I practiced alone, switching roles between customer and waiter. Other times, I practiced with a partner. Both methods improved fluency and reduced nervousness. Role-playing helped me focus on the most common phrases later in real life. I recalled those rehearsed lines and spoke more naturally and confidently. Another tip I found useful was listening to different genres of media. Many learners focus only on movies or news, but exploring variety develops flexibility and fluency. For example, I listened to science podcasts. They included complex vocabulary but explained concepts clearly. Storytelling podcasts, meanwhile, used casual speech and emotional expressions. Both were valuable. Each genre trained a different aspect of English. Science taught clarity and structure, while storytelling improved creativity, fluency, and the ability to express feelings. Interviews with experts also helped me. Authors, entrepreneurs, and artists often explain complex ideas step by step, giving me both new knowledge and structured English practice. I once heard an entrepreneur describe building a business. The structured explanation taught me professional vocabulary and showed how to present ideas clearly and persuasively in English. When practicing listening, I reminded myself not to chase perfection. The goal wasn't to understand every word instantly, but to absorb meaning and improve gradually. I used to be afraid of mistakes, but I realized misunderstandings are learning opportunities. Every time I replayed difficult parts, I caught new words and patterns. Repetition became one of my strongest tools. Instead of being frustrated, I used mistakes as stepping stones, building resilience and growing more confident each time. This mindset shift was crucial. Progress felt less like pressure and more like discovery. Each error corrected meant one step closer to fluency and self-assurance. By staying patient and persistent, you'll improve faster than you expect. Real-life conversations train your ear, force adaptation, and help you learn the natural flow. The first step in speaking with others is active listening. Don't just hear words. Pay attention to tone, pauses, and emphasis. Intonation changes meaning significantly. For example, "You're going to do that?" With rising tone, signals surprise or doubt. But with falling tone, it suggests certainty, finality, or even mild disapproval. At first, I focused only on vocabulary and missed emotional tone. Later, listening to both words and feelings gave me deeper understanding of conversations and stories. Active listening also improved my responses. I could react naturally, showing empathy and understanding, not just repeating words. This built stronger, more genuine communication skills. News reports and podcasts trained me further. I began with familiar topics, which reduced stress. Since I already knew the context, I could focus on English structure. Listening to news gave me practice with clear and concise language. Journalists use formal vocabulary, short sentences, and structured delivery, which made comprehension easier for learners. Gradually, I moved to complex reports and unfamiliar topics. My listening comprehension expanded, and I could follow advanced content without stopping every few seconds. Visual aids like captions also helped. When I watched videos with English subtitles, I could connect speech with text, reinforcing listening and reading simultaneously. At first, I relied heavily on captions, but with time, I looked at them less, letting my ears recognize the sounds and rhythm of spoken English. This combination of listening and reading built vocabulary faster. I noticed I could recall words more easily because I had both heard and seen them repeatedly. Accents again played a role in my learning. English sounds different in every region. At first, unfamiliar accents made listening difficult, but persistence brought gradual understanding. For example, Australian English once felt like another language, but after consistent exposure to podcasts and shows, patterns became familiar, and comprehension improved significantly with time. Role-playing also boosted my confidence. I practiced scenarios like ordering food, asking directions, or booking tickets. Rehearsing them prepared me for real-life conversations naturally. Sometimes I practiced alone, switching roles between customer and waiter. Other times, I practiced with a partner. Both methods improved fluency and reduced nervousness quickly. Role playing allowed me to focus on common phrases later in real life. I remembered those rehearsed lines easily and spoke with greater confidence and less hesitation. Listening to different media genres was equally helpful. Science podcasts trained me in technical vocabulary, while storytelling podcasts improved casual speech and emotional expression for conversations. Each genre taught something new. Science sharpened structure and precision. Storytelling improved fluency, spontaneity, and creativity, making me more versatile when using English with different people. Interviews with experts became another tool. Authors, entrepreneurs, and artists explained ideas clearly, offering not only knowledge, but also examples of professional, structured English communication. I remember an entrepreneur explaining business growth step by step. It taught me professional vocabulary and how to present complex concepts simply, which was extremely valuable. When practicing listening, I reminded myself the goal wasn't perfection. Understanding every word wasn't necessary. Instead, focusing on main ideas reduced stress and built progress. At first, I was afraid of mistakes. Misunderstandings embarrassed me. But I began replaying difficult sections, catching new words, and slowly transforming mistakes into learning opportunities. Repetition became a strong habit. Each replay helped me recognize familiar sounds more quickly. Instead of frustration, I saw mistakes as stepping stones to fluency. This mindset shift changed everything. Progress became less pressure and more discovery. Each correction meant I was closer to my goal, more resilient and confident. Patience and persistence truly paid off. Real conversations sharpened my listening and speaking at the same time, forcing me to adapt and grow naturally. Active listening was my foundation. Intonation and stress revealed emotions and meaning beyond vocabulary. Paying attention to tone gave me deeper insights into conversations. For example, "You're going to do that?" sounded completely different depending on tone. Rising meant surprise. Falling suggested certainty, and flatness implied doubt or resignation. At first, I ignored tone and focused on vocabulary. But later, combining words and emotion helped me understand stories, lessons, and feelings people tried to share. News reports and podcasts strengthened comprehension further. I started with familiar topics, which helped me focus on English instead of stressing about the subject matter. News trained me with concise language. Journalists use formal tone, short sentences, and structured delivery, which are excellent models for clear communication in English. As I advanced, I moved to unfamiliar reports. Comprehension became stronger, and I could follow fast discussions without stopping often or losing track of meaning. Visual aids also helped. Watching with captions allowed me to link sound and text. Subtitles were like a bridge, guiding me until listening became easier. At first, I depended heavily on captions, but gradually I looked less, training my ears to recognize the rhythm, stress, and connected speech of English. This dual practice improved both vocabulary and memory. Hearing and seeing words in context made them stick, helping me recall them more naturally in conversation. I also learned that role-playing everyday activities built real fluency. Describing my day before bed in English trained me to speak about life comfortably. For example, I'd say, "I woke up at 7, had breakfast, then went to work. Later, I had a meeting, then went to the gym." Over time, this practice reduced hesitation. Speaking about ordinary activities became natural, preparing me for conversations with friends, colleagues, or strangers in English. Different accents challenged me again. British, American, Australian, and Irish English all sounded unique. At first, they were confusing, but consistent listening made them familiar eventually. Now, I can adapt to any speaker. No matter where they are from, this variety built flexibility and confidence for real-life international conversations. Reading also contributed greatly. I began with short posts, underlining unknown words. Later, I relied less on dictionaries. My reading speed and comprehension improved noticeably. Contextual guessing became an essential skill. For example, the word bank could mean money place or river edge. Context guided me to the right meaning. This skill helped me during conversations when exact definitions weren't clear. I could still understand general meaning and respond without panic or hesitation. Writing rounded out my learning. Journaling in English daily improved grammar, vocabulary, and expression. At first it was slow, but over time it felt natural. I focused less on mistakes and more on ideas. Later corrections improved clarity, but what mattered most was consistent practice and producing sentences daily. I also used online platforms where native speakers corrected my writing. Their feedback helped me write more naturally, with smoother expressions and fewer grammatical errors. Participating in forums gave me real practice too. Writing posts, asking questions, and replying taught me informal English. Building vocabulary I could use casually. These habits created balance, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Together, they reinforced each other, building strong foundations for fluency in English over time. One of the best ways I improved conversation was joining exchange programs. Speaking with natives gave me cultural insights and helped me build natural fluency through practice, even when unsure of words. I focused on clarity. For example, I described my beach trip simply, relaxing, listening to waves, enjoying the sunshine and breeze. Though I lacked perfect vocabulary, my partner understood. That experience taught me communication isn't about flawless grammar, but sharing ideas clearly and confidently with others. Confidence also came through intonation and stress. English meaning shifts with tone. Saying, "I can't believe it," with excitement differs completely from saying it with disappointment. By shadowing, I copied native speakers' rhythm and stress. This made my speech sound more natural and engaging. Instead of flat or mechanical, practice built fluency. Connected speech was another challenge. "I want to go to the store" often sounds like, "I want to go to the store." Listening trained me to recognize this. Repeating full phrases from podcasts helped me adjust. Instead of pausing word by word, I learned to hear and speak with smooth, natural rhythm and flow. Active listening also mattered. Instead of passively hearing, I repeated sentences aloud. For example, after hearing, "That's a great idea," I echoed it immediately for practice. This reinforced vocabulary and pronunciation. It also trained me to reuse phrases in real conversations, making speaking smoother and more natural over time. Role-playing became another tool. I practiced scenarios like ordering food. "I'd like a coffee, please," or "Can I have the bill, please?" Repeating them until automatic. These rehearsals prepared me for real-life interactions. Later, when ordering at a cafe, I recalled the lines easily and spoke without hesitation or nervousness. Sometimes I practiced alone, switching roles. Other times I worked with a partner. Both methods strengthened fluency, reduced anxiety, and made real interactions feel easier. Listening to a wide range of media genres gave me even more improvement. Science podcasts developed technical vocabulary, while storytelling podcasts built emotional, casual expressions. Each genre trained a different skill. Science sharpened logic and clarity. Storytelling strengthened fluency and creativity. Together, they balance formal and informal English abilities. Interviews with experts were especially valuable. Professionals explained ideas step by step. I learned not just vocabulary, but also how to structure complex thoughts clearly. For example, An entrepreneur describing business growth taught me new professional phrases. It also modeled how to explain difficult topics in simple, structured English. Through all this practice, I reminded myself not to chase perfection. The goal wasn't zero mistakes. It was steady progress and confidence to communicate. At first, mistakes embarrassed me, but gradually I learned to see them as progress markers. Each corrected error meant I was one step closer to fluency. Repetition became a key habit. I replayed difficult recordings, catching more words each time. Familiarity grew, and understanding deepened. It felt rewarding, not frustrating. This shift in mindset changed my experience. Progress felt less stressful and more like discovery. Each small success motivated me to keep moving forward consistently. Patience and persistence truly paid off. Real-life practice sharpened listening, speaking, and comprehension at the same time, making learning both faster and more enjoyable. Confidence grew with action. Presentations, phone calls, and daily conversations all became practice grounds. Every attempt, even imperfect, built strength and reduced fear of mistakes. Soon, I realized that English wasn't just something I studied. It became part of my life. Surrounding myself with it daily made progress steady and natural. Using English daily became my strongest practice. Instead of treating it as a subject, I turned it into part of my routine. Just like eating or exercising, I practiced speaking at home with my wife. At first, it was awkward, but soon conversations became normal. We laughed, corrected each other, and improved together. This made English feel alive. Real-time conversations trained me to respond quickly, without translating in my head. Soon, words flowed naturally without hesitation or doubt. If you don't have native speakers nearby, online groups are perfect. Communities on Reddit, Discord, or Facebook let you discuss interests in English with real people. I once joined a cooking forum. Discussing recipes taught me food vocabulary I never saw in textbooks because it was fun. I remembered those words longer. Breaks are important too. Listening nonstop can exhaust your brain. I found 15 to 20 minutes, followed by reflection, made me focus better and retain more knowledge. During breaks, I summarized what I heard in my own words. This practice improved memory, reinforced ideas, and built confidence to express them again later. Repetition strengthened comprehension. Replaying a podcast or video helped me notice words I missed before. Each repeat made the message clearer and my understanding deeper. It's like visiting a familiar place. Each time you see details you missed before. Language feels the same way. Repetition unlocks hidden layers of meaning. Subtitles became another tool. At first, I watched English shows with native language subtitles. Later, I switched to English subtitles to connect spoken and written words. This method trained both listening and reading. It helped me recognize expressions like, "What's up?" and "I'll let you know," which textbooks rarely teach but natives use often. These natural expressions made me sound more fluent. Hearing them repeatedly in shows made it easier to use them myself in conversations with confidence. Tracking progress also motivated me. I wrote down new words daily, noted listening successes, and celebrated small wins. This journal reminded me of how far I'd come. Celebrating progress kept me motivated. Understanding a difficult podcast or finishing a conversation without hesitation felt like victories, pushing me to keep practicing every day. Curiosity also fueled learning. I explored topics I loved in English. Technology, sports, cooking, enjoyment made me more consistent. And consistency brought visible improvement. Finding a study buddy added accountability. Practicing together kept us motivated, gave us feedback, and made learning enjoyable. We shared tips, corrected mistakes, and celebrated success. Writing was another key. Journaling, messaging, And forum posts trained my grammar and vocabulary. Over time, sentences became smoother and more natural, even without much editing. At first, I obsessed over mistakes, but later I focused on ideas first, corrections second. This made writing faster, easier, and more effective for improvement. Online correction platforms also helped. Native speakers reviewed my writing, explained errors, and suggested improvements. Their feedback gave me confidence and taught me natural phrasing. Engaging with online communities deepened this practice. Responding to posts and joining discussions built informal English skills, making me more comfortable with casual communication. Together, listening, speaking, reading, and writing balanced my learning. Each skill supported the others, creating a complete and steady path toward fluency in English. Real conversations taught me another lesson. Active listening goes beyond words. It means hearing emotions, pauses, and rhythm. These details often reveal meaning more clearly than vocabulary. For example, when someone said, "It was a challenge, but I learned a lot," the tone told me both their struggle and pride in overcoming obstacles. At first, I missed those cues because I focused only on grammar. Later, by noticing intonation, I understood deeper messages and responded more naturally in conversations. News reports gave me more structured listening practice. I started with stories I already knew. Familiar topics reduced stress, helping me focus on English rather than content. This approach revealed how journalists used concise sentences and formal vocabulary. The clear structure helped me model my own English communication in a more organized way. Gradually, I moved on to unfamiliar topics. Comprehension improved, and I could follow fast-paced reports without stopping constantly or losing the main point of the story. Visual aids strengthened learning. Watching with captions let me connect spoken and written English. Captions guided me until I could follow more without needing them. At first, I relied heavily on subtitles, but over time, my ears adapted, and I found myself looking less while still understanding more of the speech. This combination of listening and reading improved memory. Seeing and hearing words together in context made them stick longer and feel easier to recall later. Role-playing prepared me for daily tasks. I practiced ordering food, making reservations, or asking for directions. These rehearsals reduced anxiety when the real situation arrived. Sometimes I role-played alone, switching between roles. Other times, I practiced with friends. Both methods gave me confidence and built fluency for real-life conversations. Listening to different media genres expanded my vocabulary. Science podcasts trained clarity and precision, while storytelling podcasts helped me express feelings naturally and fluently in casual conversations. Each genre taught something unique. Science gave me technical structure. Storytelling gave me creativity. Together, they made my English more versatile for many different situations. Interviews with experts were especially helpful. Authors, entrepreneurs, and artists spoke clearly, explained ideas step by step, and modeled professional communication I could copy in my own practice. I was entrepreneur explained how he built his business step by step. It gave me both vocabulary and a model of structured communication I could follow. Chasing perfection was a mistake I avoided later. At first, I feared errors, but I realized the goal was progress, not flawless grammar in every conversation. Replaying recordings became a key habit. Each time I listened again, I understood more. Words I had missed before suddenly stood out, making comprehension easier. Repetition turned frustration into discovery. Instead of fearing mistakes, I treated them as progress markers. Each correction pushed me one step closer to fluency and confidence. This mindset shift changed my learning journey. Progress felt less pressured and more rewarding. Each small achievement gave me motivation to continue moving forward daily. Patience and persistence were essential. Language learning isn't a sprint, it's a marathon where consistent practice, even small, builds results more effectively than long occasional study. Confidence came from action, presentations, phone calls, and group conversations all became practice opportunities, even with mistakes. Every attempt reduced fear and strengthened my English. Soon, I realized English was no longer just something I studied. It became part of my everyday life. Surrounding myself with it daily made learning steady and enjoyable. One of the best ways to sharpen listening skills is through real conversations. Recordings help, but authentic interactions challenge you to adapt in real time. I remember my first group conversation in English. We discussed travel destinations. At first, I didn't understand everything, but I stayed engaged, asking questions to follow. Gradually, I focused on context instead of every word. This helped me respond naturally and improved my confidence. Even when my vocabulary wasn't perfect yet, active listening became my habit. I paid attention not just to words, but also to tone, stress, and pauses. These details changed meaning significantly. For example, "I can't believe it" could sound excited or disappointed depending on stress. Learning these cues made me more accurate in understanding conversations. Listening to news on familiar topics helped too, since I already knew the story. I could focus more on English vocabulary and phrasing without being overwhelmed. Later, I moved to complex subjects with practice. I understood advanced reports and professional discussions, which gave me confidence in both formal and informal contexts. Visual aids like captions provided support. Watching videos with subtitles connected sound and text. Over time, I relied less on them and trusted my listening more. Shadowing also helped. I paused recordings, repeated sentences aloud, and copied rhythm and intonation. This practice improved my pronunciation, fluency, and confidence in speaking naturally. Recording myself was another useful method. Listening to my own speech revealed weak points, like unclear pronunciation or pauses. Correcting them made my communication clearer. Role-playing made conversations easier. I practiced ordering food, asking for directions, or small talk. When real situations came, they felt familiar instead of intimidating. Reading expanded my vocabulary further. Books, articles, and even social media posts gave me exposure to patterns in English, teaching me to guess meaning from context. I underlined unknown words and looked them up later. Over time, my reading speed improved, and I needed the dictionary less, which boosted my confidence. Writing tied everything together. Journaling and forum posts trained grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. Mistakes became lessons. Practice built fluency and made expression easier. Feedback accelerated progress. At first, corrections embarrassed me, but later, I welcomed them. Knowing each suggestion brought me closer to clear and natural English. Finally, I learned consistency is the real secret. Small daily practice, listening, speaking, reading, or writing, builds results. With persistence, progress becomes inevitable over time. English fluency isn't about perfection. It's about communicating confidently. Every mistake is progress. Every effort adds up, and every step brings you closer to your goal.